The hour of 4 o'clock having right, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Directors for the Vallecitos Water District. And before we have the pledge, if you could take a moment and check your cell phones to put them on buzz or turn them off. Appreciate it very much. Director Podel, would you lead us in the pledge?
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Diane, roll call.
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Carter? Director Martin?
Here.
Director Paul?
Here.
Director Hernandez?
Here. Entertain a motion to adopt the agenda of the regular meeting. So moved. And second? Yep. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. I only have two oral communications for items, nothing else?
Actually, yeah, those aren't oral communications, those are on the action items.
Oh, speakers, thank you. That's what I meant. Very good. Item 1.1, approval of the...
We do have a presentation by staff.
Oh, do we?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Zach, if you please come up.
Oh, there we are, meter department presentation, I'm sorry.
As the board may recall, we're trying to bring up a different department every other board meeting, just to give the board a flavor of all the different people that work here, plus their duties. Today, we have Zach Garcia. He's the meter department supervisor, and he's going to tell you about the 22,000 cash registers that we have out there.
Hot dog.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Zach Garcia, and I am the meter department supervisor. And this is our meter department presentation. We have 4 meter service workers in our department: Alex Torres, Art Alvarez, Carlos Rivera, and Cliff Cross. We have 1 meter service worker 3, Mark Cap, and he also runs our backflow department. And then myself, the meter supervisor. In our district, we have close to 22,000 meters being read and maintained each month. We are now currently in an automated meter reading system where we drive by and collect the reads. We have a daily list. Those are for customers that move in and out of the district. It's their start or final read. And we also repair and maintain each and every meter. This is a snapshot of our meter and the MXU, which is the transmitter that sends the read back to the truck. This is a snapshot of the laptop, and the meter readers drive down the street. Each one of these green dots represents a meter, and when the read is sent to the truck, the green dot disappears, and when all the dots have disappeared, they're complete with the
Could you
route.
take that back to the other photo, please, with the meter? So is that your 5/8?
Yes.
That is the old style 5/8. I don't think we brought in the new one, but that's the old style meter that the board just approved going to the 3/4 inch.
He's got a picture of it here.
Oh, do you have it?
Yeah,
Okay, you've got a picture.
Oh,
of it.
great.
Okay, thanks.
We also recheck reads with high and low limits, or if they don't have any usage at all. We respond to service calls, and like I said, once again, backflows in our department. All commercial and industrial accounts must have a backflow device. This is a picture of a construction meter set on a hydrant, and we set and read all the construction meters each month. This is a backflow device, and each backflow device must be tested annually. The future of meter reading, of course, we have the iPearl meters that we're starting to use now. And if the district chooses to go in that direction, we'll be headed towards a FlexNet or the AMI system, which is automated infrastructure, which is a base reading where we could actually read the meters from the office.
Just quick, could you go back one? I think it was showing the backflow device. Yeah, thank you. Now, those much larger ones, maybe it's not backflow, the much larger ones we see around shopping centers?
Those are in fact backflow devices, but they're called detector checks, they're the same thing. And it's a one-way check for on-site sprinklers. Any commercial or industrial buildings, they have fire sprinklers inside.
Okay.
And so it's a separate connection that's dedicated just to providing service to those sprinklers. They're separate from domestic, separate from irrigation. They have to be a separate dedicated one. And the reason they're so big was because they have to provide such a high flow number.
And who's responsible for the maintenance?
That belongs to the owner of the building.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then also there's a propagation study which we just had done, which they take the district boundary maps and the elevation of the tank sites and the meter locations for the whole district, and they try to do a study to see how many towers we would actually need if we choose to go in that direction to do the base reading, to be able to read the whole district.
Speaking of reading the whole district, how long does it take to read all the meters?
Usually it takes 3/4 of the month, probably about 19 or 20 days.
And it's a vehicle and individual, or more than one individual?
It's just a vehicle that does it. We usually do 1 or 2 routes a day. So we have 16 cycles, 16 routes that we read.
Okay, yes?
With a follow-up, how many man-hours does it take to read all the meters?
8 times 19, right?
8 times 5 times 19.
Oh, yeah, 8 times 5 times
Yeah,
19.
because there's 5 people in the department that read. The balance of the time, they're out doing the repairs, the rereads, battery replacements, everything else that goes with it.
A lot of time.
It's fairly intense labor.
Yeah.
That's the item that Zach just talked about, the propagation study.
Yeah.
It would be actually a radio read, that the reads would come now from the meter to the tower and then back to the district to help, again, with manpower and cut back on it as we go.
And how long have has this district used this?
We started in 2000, we started a conversion in 2003, and we were fully converted 2008, I think.
So 2001, 2002 was a lot of man-hours, because you had to go each one, and
We have the same staff now that we had back then.
the same amount of staff.
Yeah, because we, more than, I don't want to say we doubled,
It
but
was 13,000 meters back.
yeah,
when we
from
started.
13,000 to 22,000 meters, but it's the same amount of staff doing the same work.
Thank you.
I just did the math on that. That's 26,000, even at $35 an hour, which I, because of our cost of service study and the modification multiplier, I don't think it's 35. It's $26,000 a month. How much is those
For 5 employees.
GPS things they can do from home?
Don't
I
answer,
mean,
don't
I'll
answer,
read- I'll read
don't
my
answer
own-
that, Zach.
I'll read my own meter and I can save some money even if I'm wrong.
Well, if you recall, when we were going through the cost of service study and all the different items that we
Yeah.
talked about, we have to go out and redo and redo. And 16 routes, is that what you said, Zach?
Yeah.
So you figure 16 routes, I can't remember how many reads and rereads or locks and unlocks that we would have to do every single time. In the cost of service study, we showed the analysis amount of
Yeah.
hours. That's why we had some of those charges put into place, because of the numerous rereads and things that we had to do. It's very labor intensive.
Well, yeah, well, I think we should be looking more quickly at the automated system at 26,000. Even, I can't believe it's 26, I think it's a larger number, but take a couple of years of that and
Yeah, that's what we're looking at now, the propagation study, to see what that next, we spent $3.8 million last time, to give you an idea of the cost. It's not cheap.
Study?
No, to do the automatic meter read. It's 3.8.
Okay.
It's a
Well,
very expensive proposition.
yeah, all right, thank you. Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
That's okay. And then this here's a snapshot of the new iPro meter.
Well, they're cute.
And any questions? Any more questions?
Any questions?
I think we should
Director
open
Podel? Did you have a question?
I'm
You were
sorry,
first.
you're so
You
quiet.
just jumped right in. I'm
I
waiting, you
do
gotta go in
that.
line.
I forgot.
Director
I'm sorry.
Podel?
Don't-
As far as the backflows, do you have, is that a different department? Does that have anything to do with you?
No, backflow is in our department.
It is
It's
in your
the meter
department. So your department sends out the notices?
Yes.
Great. Well, they do an excellent job of that, because I've got a lot of backflows. And so,
Mark Cap runs the backflow.
yeah,
He
so
is doing a
we
good
get the
job.
notices as they're due. And they also do, the district, Vallecitos does a great job of notifying customers when they see high readings. So that's a great customer service that you guys provide as well. So Appreciate it.
Thank you. I was going to say thank you because you do a great job on reading. We had the high meter, and I compliment you both on jumping right on it and being very helpful with us, and Lisa was very helpful, and have a lot of admiration for what you do, and I did not realize that's how many hours it took to read what we had. Excellent job.
Right.
By the way, that
Thank you.
last little meter we're gonna get is really cute. And what if we offered it to Pixar to make a little animated movie, and then it would be in all the theaters?
Yeah.
Works for me.
It does for me, and looks
We
just
can make
as
you a
cute as their
necklace.
little light, and then we'd have the little.
Little bracelet. Director Ferguson, did you have a question?
No, I had a statement.
Oh, good.
Okay, thank you. I have a backflow meter, a domestic one, and I would like to verify what Director Podel says. I'm just a little tiny guy, but the way they handle the renewal, so that you can notify the inspector, your private inspector, to come and do the testing is very good. And, but they fill up with black widows. Don't they?
Yes, I do.
I've never seen a man jump that far in my life.
Rattlesnake will do that too.
Backflows, are they similar to manhole covers that, because we've had ours taken twice at our office, and is it registered, or is it, if they try to scrap it out?
Oh, they're all copper?
Yeah, the copper.
We've had some stolen from the district,
Uh-huh.
but it was a while ago. I want to say maybe 3 years ago.
Oh.
There was like 4 or 5 that, got stolen in the middle of the night. And yeah, they do try to scrap them.
Yeah.
There was actually a law passed last year for all recycle yards, whenever it comes in, they have to, if there's no serial number on it, they're not supposed to take it.
Oh,
If something does come in like that, they're no longer allowed to pay in cash. They can only pay by check and have address and identification when they issue the check. That's for reputable recycling yards.
oh, good. All right. Any other questions? Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Wonderful.
Thank you,
You guys
Zach.
doing a grand job. All righty. Now, consent calendar. Approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second, anyone? All in favor? Aye. And on to action items. 2.1, fog control program presentation.
Well, just to show that it's not just Vallecitos that has issues with fog, we try to bring a little levity in here every now and then if we can. So what you've got before you is,
A little bit of humor?
I see the Frenchman suit here.
you turn the volume off.
No, actually.
No, the thing's done.
The counter
Oh, man.
Oh, well. We thought we had it, don't worry about it, Diane. Bottom line, it's SpongeBob SquarePants and his restaurant down in the ocean, they have a fog control program issue. Where grease is being spilled and plugging up their sewers down in the ocean, and it needs to be dealt with. So, just trying to bring a little levity to it,
Would have
but
liked to see that.
it didn't quite work out.
Hit play again, it'll go.
Yeah.
One more time.
You can start, and I'm not, it's good.
Oh, go ahead and pull
Just
it.
hit it again, it'll go. Play.
It's the trouble we had, Tom, during the trial runs.
Okay, go ahead and pull up the presentation. We tried.
Yeah.
Works like a laptop.
Good afternoon. If you made SpongeBob, you know it's important, right?
You
It's a
betcha.
good topic, that's all. Okay, I'm sure you guys, actually, I hope you guys remember the last presentation I gave. I kind of went over the whole overview of the program itself. I went from the regulatory requirements to the whole program of, the benefits of having a fog control program, and also the elements that needs to be implemented to have a inspection program itself. So that's kind of what I went over on the last go-around. And there was 4 items that was left to kind of look at and go over. And it's determine and approve a fee structure, adoption of the fog control ordinance, public outreach and education, and start inspections from that point. So actually, I started off doing a recovery cost of the program itself. I actually interviewed 15 agencies with established programs themselves. 8 agencies charge a monthly or annual fee for fog producing facilities. We broke down the fees from a monthly charge. They range from $13.33 to $34.42 a month. You can see there's quite a bit of range there. 7 out of the 15 agencies itself, they don't have no charge, no fee for the program whatsoever. They have a program, they do the inspections, but they don't charge. And you can see on the bottom right there, 5 are cities and 2 are special districts.
So, and there lies the question, so if they don't charge for it, how is it paid for?
Through the public fund, I mean, that's.
What we find through some of these, those 5 of them are cities because they have, again, a general fund where all their money comes in. So I think they take the tax revenue, they take the revenues from the industry, and they actually use that to fund the improvements. They absorb it in the general rate structure is what they actually do.
The special districts can't do
The
that.
special districts, we charge for the cost of service for the individual item, the way they do it. Some of them may recover it on an annual business license fee renewal cost. Some of them have annual renewal fees. I think it's all over the board as to how they do it and how they recover it. But I say out of the 15, half do charge, half don't. Of the 7 that don't, they probably recover it through a tax base, would be our best guess.
Well, 2 of them are special districts, so I don't know what the tax base is that they
The
cover.
general rate.
General rates. That was the question that we had when we came before the board the first time is, you've got general benefit, and you'll see a little more of this in just a moment. You've got general benefit that we already do, what Lisa and her outreach does to those fat trappers, the things that we pass out to different neighborhoods, the general newsletter. So we already absorb a lot of that into the rates. Now the issue is, okay, that's already absorbed in the regular rate structure, and now we're implementing a new program specific to a industry. So do we absorb that rate into everybody, or does that industry pay for that rate? That's the intent of what we brought for you today.
But apparently at least some of the special districts spread it over everybody.
That's what it sounds like. 2 of them do. Yeah.
Okay. And then comparable agencies, I try to get the local agencies around here that are pretty close to our size and the same amount of FSEs that we have. You can see on the left-hand side, that's a number of FSEs, got a range from 0 to 350, and then above each bar is actually broke down the monthly cost that they charge the agents or the facilities themselves. Majority of them have an annual fee. They charge a fee once a year. We're looking to actually do a monthly charge to break it down so we can actually put it on the water and sewer accounts itself and bill monthly on it. So you can see the City of Escondido, they actually have 300 FSCs, and their monthly breakdown is $13.33. City of Huntington Beach is, they have same amount, 300, and it's $32.25. And then the proposed cost that Vallecitos has is pretty much the middle range of all the agencies that charge a fee, and it's proposed at $21 a month. City of La Mesa, they have 200, and they're looking to charge $13.33. In Padre Dam, they have about 160 FSEs, and their monthly charge is $16.83.
I'm sorry, your acronym, FSE?
It's food service establishment. It's fog reducing facilities, so it's FSEs is
FSE,
yeah, food service establishment. Yes,
Only.
yes. And there's it goes into like catering facilities and stuff like that. I can give you a breakdown of type of facilities. It's sit-down facilities, fast food facilities, bakeries, bars, bowling centers, theaters, caterers, supermarkets, looking for schools, hotels, possibly churches that have that produce fog, delis, banquet halls, and stuff like that.
So everything other than residential.
Exactly, pretty, yes. We look in there, it says, yeah. And then how we got the cost of the program and the proposed $21 a month is actually to have BWD estimated a cost to inspect the restaurants and to manage the program in year 1 is $67,200. There's approximately about 225 facilities that are going to be in the program. I won't know the exact numbers until I get out there and actually start doing inspecting, asking questions and stuff like that. But as of right now, it's about 225 to 230. The total annual recovery cost for that would be $298.67 to get the money back from that, from the inspection and managing the program. You can see how we got that at 67,200 divided by the number of facilities, gave us that number. That breaks down in a monthly charge of $24.89. And we looked at, like I said earlier, we actually looked at all the agencies that charge it, which is charge a fee, which is 8 agencies, and took an average of those 8 agencies, and it's $21.77. So our proposed monthly fee would be $21 we're proposing for each facility. At that point, it would actually recover 36% of the fog control program cost, which puts us in the next slide. The total cost, you can see that the $67,200 is for the inspection and the management of the program itself, and then you have the general benefit part of it, which is $45,800. And Dennis kind of went over that, and I'll go over it here a little bit more. And then we actually have a current program right now where we actually put in a fog treatment. It's a bacteria where it actually grows and it eats the fog that's in the pipes right now. It's actually, per year, we spend about $49,000 for the product to apply that. So that's where it comes in at $162,000 for the first year. We're looking 2 years plus after we get this program established, and I get up there and start doing some inspections. You can see the inspections and the management is about the same, so is the general benefit, but we're cutting that fog bacteria treatment in half. That's because of having an established program. I'm out there regulating, seeing what's going on, see what they're doing, making sure they're going with the program itself. We're cutting that in half, which is $24,500, which half the treatment areas right now is due because of restaurants. The other half is residential. So you're taking that, and the annual cost for that after the second year is $138,000. And then the fog control ordinance, it's been completed. It's actually in draft form right now. It's being looked at by management and legal counsel. And then I think we're still looking the next board meeting, which I think it might be November 20th, or it might be changed, I'm not sure.
It'd probably be December or January at this point.
Oh, December, okay. We're looking to have it for board adoption when it's ready for you guys. And then talking about the outreach, letters will be sent out to each facility, food service establishment, and their account holders explaining the program. And that won't be done until after the adoption of the ordinance itself. And then actually, I'll be doing a meet and greet with all the owners and managers of the FSCs, and I'll be handing out a fog guidance manual, education material, and also we're in the process of making a DVD, which would be perfect for education for the managers and the employees of the business itself.
Question
Yes.
here. With regard to our sewers, I'm on a septic tank, and this is what mine looked like, and caused me 2 years of grief that no one knew about until we cut it open, and sure enough, there it was. House is 28 years old, so, but does that also happen in residential sewer systems?
Yes, it does.
It does?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Hmm.
Majority of it is in like the high dense areas of restaurants themselves, but it does happen in like
Yeah.
an apartment complex. If you have heavy area with apartment complexes, yourself, you actually will get a lot of fog built up from that point.
Okay.
And you can, talking about education material, you can see a couple posters that's been created. That's what we're looking to pass out to the facilities themselves and have them post up just for reminders for the owners, managers, and the employees that work there. You can see the one on the left right there is a kitchen BMP, kind of do's and don'ts of what you do and what you don't do for proper grease disposal, and then a no grease sign right there. Just a reminder not to dump grease down the sink. The fog guidance manual that I created. I'm sorry, was it?
I have a question. seeing as this is gonna come before us pretty quickly, I guess my question is, so you go into a fast food restaurant, Fred's Taco Shop,
Yes.
and Fred's there cooking, and he's making a living, and he doesn't have what he's supposed to have.
Yes.
He's not hooked up the way he should be. So you're gonna tell him what he needs to do?
That's, you know what, if device, you either have a grease interceptor or a grease trap if you're required by the California Plumbing Code. If they're required, they go through the city mandates of what they need themselves. If they don't have it, I'll be working with the city, trying to get them up to date on what they need to have from that point. It could be a lengthy process, but if they don't have that, then like you said, I'll be working with them. If they do, I'll just be working with them with kitchen BMPs, which is just proper disposal of the food that they cook and the grease that they have, make sure they're storing the grease where it needs to be, making sure they're actually storing and getting it picked up, making sure the grease interceptor or grease trap is being cleaned, and they just keep all the records so I can go back and look at them and making sure that they are disposing of it correctly and not putting it down the sewer.
Yeah, what we're not planning on doing is coming in, government's here to help, oh, by the way.
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing. What we're gonna be doing is, the BMPs right here is probably Corey's most important, or if you go back one slide, no, the kitchen BMPs. If it's Fred's Taco Shop, if it's been there a long time, they won't have probably the grease separator and all that because it's an old building. The bulk of what Corey's going to try to do can be done just through kitchen BMPs. Don't dump it down the sink, pour it in this container. Don't grind it, unplug the grinder, don't send it down to drinking. So a lot of it we can do by working with them. Those people will probably require 3 inspections a year instead of 1. The city will be working very closely with the city anytime there's a change to the building, upgrades. That's something Corey will work with the city to make sure it goes in there. One of the biggest things we'll be doing is going in and asking all to turn off or unplug there or sever the cord to the garbage disposals. That's the biggest source of the BOD, the biological strength of the sewage, is everything they grind and send down the sewer. So we want that to go in a separate container. So a lot of it is work with them. We don't want to have to hammer anybody or do anything like that. That's as far away from our intent as it can. We think the BMPs will be the biggest part. We think that'll be the most outreach. There are provisions in the ordinance, if it needs to be enforced, then we have to enforce it. We have to mandate this program. But it's really intended to be slow, soft, gentle to get there. The other part we're working with, you may have heard a little, you may have, somebody's phone just checked. At Encina, our 2 representatives, we have a program going over there right now. It's a fog disposal program. It used to be brown grease and white grease was a commodity. Well, that went away over the years, just the natural progression of things. But brown grease has an extremely high gas content. So we actually want more grease at the treatment plant. But we want the grease brought in and put into the plant in the right place. So the program that Encina's going through right now is a fog enhancement program. It's doing a design build, and we think that'll be online August, September maybe of next year. And so what Encina's going to do is come up with a list of preferred haulers that have a guaranteed price that anybody within our jurisdiction, if they use this hauler, they're going to get a better price. We know where the grease goes. It gets taken to the district, to the plant, and then it actually generates more biogas, which reduces the power cost, which reduces our operating cost. So it's that cycle. So what we're intending here is to help the business owners as much as we can purely from a BMP standpoint, and then start getting into the grease traps. Where do you put it? Where's it getting hauled? But we're not intending to walk in the door and you've got to put in $45,000. Sorry, Fred. That's not the intent by any means.
Okay. So it's the fog guidance manual itself, the contents in there that I put in there is actually support for this facility and the inspection program itself, how to achieve compliance, the kitchen BMPs, we just talked about that, grease interceptor maintenance requirements, record keeping requirements, and a list of what Dennis has said, a list of grease recycling rendering service providers will be provided in the handbook itself, and then the basis for the inspection for the facility. And then the continue outreach is for residential customers. There'll be fog brochures. You can see the one right on top. It's educational of what is fog, how is it produced, how do you dispose of it, so on like that. fog control billing inserts. That's actually talking to a lot of agencies. They do that quite a bit. They just throw it in every couple months. They throw a bill of information, on the bill itself. Just a little flyer saying, just a reminder about grease and how to, dispose of it properly and stuff like that. Door hangers, a lot of people actually use that. A lot of agencies use that. When they're doing routine cleaning with the Vactors, if they find grease in the line, or if there's a blockage in the line that causes an SSO, that whole drainage area itself, what they'll do is actually have a door hanger made with educational information on there saying in the recent week or whatever, we're cleaning your area and we discovered grease, and it just kind of reminds everybody in that drainage area that, there is grease in the line and how to dispose of it, where it doesn't go in the line itself. Fat trappers, you talked about that. That's just a device where we handed out for residential customers to dispose of the grease properly and get rid of it. And food scrapers. And then also we're working on updating our website for informational section is being developed for FSEs and residential customers. And then the inspection process, following the adoption of the ordinance itself, I'll introduce introduction of the program, educate the owners and managers of the fog control program, identify types of food preparation and cooking process. Does the facility have a grease removal device, which is a grease interceptor or a grease trap? What fixtures actually drain to that device itself? And does the facility have fryers, and do they recycle the oil? That's basically the 4 sections that we had to go over. Any questions?
Director Evans?
I have one question. You've put a lot of work into this, and I'm very impressed with what you're ready to do when you get to start on this. Have you already prioritized those businesses you want to start with, or is it going where you feel you can make the biggest bang for the buck to start?
You know what, there's actually I'm hoping to get through from start to finish of just introducing the program to all the facilities, which is the 225 that I was talking about. I'm looking to talk to everybody I need to talk to within the first 2.5 to 3 months is what I'm looking to probably to get out there and talk to them, hand out the education material, explain the program. I'm looking at about a 3-month process. And then, yes, we do have areas where we do have high fog production. And those are the areas that I will be going to and kind of just seeing what the process is and see how they establish their kitchen BMPs and so on.
And it's still just you doing this?
Yes.
If you recall the odor study that we brought to you a while back, Grand Avenue and San Marcos Boulevard
Right.
had the highest gas content, to a deadly level of anywhere else within the district. That's where a lot of the fog all gets developed and generated, right in that immediate area. So that'll be a priority. That's the type of area that we.
That's the first area right there.
Yeah, that is probably the highest area.
Director Polo?
Yeah, one of the things that becomes real obvious, when we are meeting with the city, we're always trying to figure out who can do what for each other. I would think that they would want to be talking to developers about not using garbage disposal. I think it's a good place to start. Even though it's not going to be banned by the plumbing code, it's worth thinking about, just as we think about landscaping and things of that nature, if we can attack it from both ends. I do a lot of this because I have to do school districts, and our kitchens are all, pretty much have to go by the Department of Health as far as design and everything of that nature. How do you see what you're doing crossing with the Department of Health?
Really, for us, the Department of Health, not much there. It's more with the city itself. Department of Health is just they actually inspect for the free foodborne illnesses and stuff like that. More the temperature of the refrigerator, freezers, and so on and stuff like that. I'll be probably working more with the city. I've already talked to them quite a bit just about their stormwater program.
Mm-hmm.
They do inspect parking lots and areas and stuff like that, and they're kind of excited about the program because I'm going to be visiting the facilities more than they do, and I'll be taking notes and documentation down for them and let them know if I see anything out there.
Well, this is long overdue, so I think it's a great thing. With kitchens that are at school sites, they all have grease interceptors.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have a maintenance program with that. And so, but I don't think anybody checks it. you know, so.
Yeah, as of right now, there's no agency out there that
Yeah.
actually checks.
Right,
Well,
and so,
kitchen
that-
BMPs,
so we do it
interceptor cleaning,
on
stuff
probably
like that.
6 months, you know, we come and have the interceptors cleaned out and so on, because if you don't, then you get a lot of odors and things of that nature, which is just good standard practice. So,
Exactly, yeah.
so do you see that as being a part of your scope?
Yes, it is.
Just
yeah.
kind of dropping in and saying, can you show me your maintenance records and
Maintenance
things like
records,
that?
actually, this book right here actually has all the information in it.
That's good.
Actually explaining requirements for the cleaning, and if, you know, it's a certain percentage of depth of the grease interceptor,
Yeah.
solid accumulation, and the grease, you know, if it's 25% or more, then it needs to be cleaned, and that's just a proven, it's kind of a standard, you know, throughout all the agencies and stuff like that. I interviewed a lot of them and talked to them, and I just take the standard from everybody else, put it into our program itself, and it seems like that's actually a pretty good number. So anything more than 25% of the hydraulic depth, it actually needs to be cleaned, and that's actually in the book itself.
Well, if you're interested in doing a presentation for the Child Nutrition Services with the school district, let me know and I could probably help you out.
Okay, love to. Okay, that'd be great.
Director Martin?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions and a couple of statements. My first question is, you showed $140,000, was that your total budget?
It's actually the cost of the program that pulled out of the budget was $162,000 is what it was, and that was with the current program we have with the treatment of the bacteria.
I think the second year of Director Martin, it was reduced cost because we saved about 24,000 in that biological treatment.
Yeah, it went from 162 to 130.
Is that an army of one?
That's Army, that's me.
The army of you,
Yes.
okay. And just to explain, which I think is important to people that might be tuning in on television, FOG is fats, oils, and grease.
Yes, it is,
And the
yes.
amount going in the sewer system, because last time you gave a presentation, we weren't televised.
Okay.
So it's important people to know what we're talking about, I
Okay.
think. Mike, what department are you currently in now?
I'm actually in the regulatory and safety.
Regulatory and safety?
Safety, yes. Yes. I worked 25 years actually in the collections department itself.
Okay, well, this is awesome that you came up with this. I would really recommend that maybe you and one of our staff people make a couple of presentations to the city council. Make them aware of what it is before we put it in place and they start getting calls.
Mhm.
Because they'll understand why we're doing it, and that would assist in getting help from their staff in implementation.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
now that we're starting to work together, I think, very easily, at the very least, it should be on our agenda in 6 months to bring up and talk to the city council about, if we haven't given them a presentation. But I think if you explain to them what FOG is, that's gonna do a whole lot to helping the relations between the two groups get together and work better. Just my thought.
Yeah, and let me echo Director Martin's suggestion, because today I went to the city and they changed the policy of the phone up in front. And so I picked it up and I got a reprimand and I went, I've been using this phone for 40 years. And I said, well, you could have put a sign up for a little while, let us know. So, yeah, a little bit of pre-information would probably go a long way with that.
Were you calling Paris or what?
You can't,
Yeah.
yeah, no.
Use your own
Talk to the
phone.
receptionist, your hands off. Anyway, great. Any other questions?
That is the status. Again, the fee, we wanted to see if the board was comfortable with that concept. We didn't, like I said, we know that we already spend about 2/3 of the budget on what we do already. So now the fee is directed towards the actual program itself. You will see a change in this as it settles in. So next year, the fee hopefully will be reduced because we've got it under control and he doesn't have all the startup as we did last time. So it's gonna be a little bit of a moving target. The other part that this relates to, as you may recall, in the cost of service study was there was a proposal that over the next 2 years, we move towards strength of sewage billing for this type of establishment and everything else. What we're hoping is, I believe Corey's gonna be very successful in this, by them not dumping all of this BOD or the biochemical oxygen demand strength into the sewer, we may not have to go down that path of testing and requiring different businesses to pay a different sewer bill based upon a different theoretical strength of their sewage. That's the goal. People like Hollandia Dairy that have very large discharges, that's a totally different animal. But what we're hoping is this program will get that under control, and then we don't have to implement this other very complicated program down the road. That's it. Thank you, Corey.
Thank you, Corey, very much.
Thank you. Excellent.
Item next, 2.2, Reserve Policy Resolution.
Yes, I'll have Mr. Scatalione speak to this. This is also a follow-up on some of the action the board's taken over the last couple of months with respect to reserves and the cost of service study in itself.
So after that last presentation, I'm kind of hungry, but I'll try to make it through here. I don't have a SpongeBob presentation for you. I don't know whose idea that was. On your, Mr. President, members of the board, in your packet, starting on page 18, you have a staff report regarding reserves and a recommended revision to our reserve policy. We have reserve policy established by the board. We have levels of reserve. We have an operating reserve in each water and sewer departments. Operating reserve is 180 days of budgeted expenditures, less water purchases. When that's fully funded, the remainder, it goes to replacement reserves, kind of like a residual. And what we have left over goes to replacement reserves. Replacements are funded by property tax, and our net operating income goes into the replacement reserve. We have an established floor and an established ceiling for our replacement reserves. The floor is 3 years estimated replacement costs, and the ceiling is 10 years estimated replacement costs. And when we budget and do planning, not all at once, but over a long period of time, our goal is to fund that replacement reserve to the max. If we go over, that's great. Then we have rate stabilization money. When we exceed our ceiling, we have rate stabilization money. And actually, we have that situation now in our sewer fund. We have $4.3 million, and that's why we did not increase sewer rates for this year, because we had that. Unfortunately, in our water replacement fund, we're about $8.3 million from the floor. So we got a ways to go until we're fully funded. And we articulated to our cost of service consultants what our strategy was for water with this pending desalinated water deliveries in 2016 or so. The price is going to increase for our wholesale water costs. And what our intention was, we'll just continue funding that replacement reserve like we would, maybe establish, hopefully, before that hits, some rate stabilization money. And they said, that's a great idea, but it's not articulated in your reserve policy. So the only recommendation that our cost of service consultants had regarding our reserves was to articulate that strategy in the reserve policy. We also will be looking at the levels, those floors and ceilings I talked about, mainly the ceiling when we go through the budget process. We may be back again with the revision, but that's not until we go through the budget process. For now, and if you go to the red line version, starting on page 20, 19, yeah, and then on to page 20. The only other changes are moving things around, like on the top of page 20, is that the conversation that was stricken really belonged in the rate stabilization, so it was moving. There's really no other changes instead of just moving things around, reducing redundancy and ambiguity. The main change, the only really significant change, is on page 21 of your board packet, and it's the last paragraph that's underscored in red, and that's just what I mentioned. That's just articulating our strategy about the pending increases that will happen from desalinated water. That's all I had for you. Staff is recommending that you consider and adopt the reserve policy as presented, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Yes, Director Martin.
On page 18, under discussion, items 1, 2, 3, and 4, operating reserve, OPEB reserve, replacement services, rates, that's all standard? Is that what I'm going to see in every water district?
No, there's a lot of different things. Different water districts may have a different reserve. I think Valley Center has like 7 different reserve categories. Everyone's going to have an operating reserve, and everybody, they might not call it replacement reserve, but we'll have a replacement reserve as well. So I think this is pretty streamlined compared to some of the other reserve compositions that you might see in other
agencies.
agencies.
Do they all have a rate stabilization reserve?
A lot of them do. Unfortunately, through the recession, a lot of the rate stabilization money went away. And we didn't have any through the recession, that's for sure. We were actually below our minimum targets through the recession. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Any other questions? Yes, Director Podel?
I move we accept staff recommendation.
Well, second.
Speaker?
Yes.
Do you have a speaker?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, sir. We do have a speaker, and may I ask the speaker to come forward before we vote on the motion?
Mike Hunsaker, Property Owner Defense League. And looking through this, I had couple of questions. One of them, replacement costs equal net additions to infrastructure and system assets according to the published construction cost indices. I'm not sure which indices you're talking about. Is it for San Diego County, the state of California, federal? Is it for residential? Is it for architectural? Which indices?
Which page are you talking about, sir?
Page 22, section 3, on the first bullet item.
22,
No, it's not.
24, excuse me.
Is that
21?
24.
First
24.
24 is a different one.
Oh,
No, it's.
yes.
It's Engineering News Record, Los Angeles.
It's the average cities for ENR, the engineering news record.
Okay.
This is published, by the way, in our budget, too. It's the very last pages of the budget. is
It
how
just
this is
wasn't
calculated.
here, so
Yeah.
I assumed it was identified elsewhere, but I would have appreciated having it right there as well. I'm not sure that I'm a fan, I am a fan of reserves for some degree of rate stabilization, using it for, largely specifically for desalinized water, I'm not so sure is appropriate. I would, whenever we do a rates structure analysis, that these reserve policies and those reserve amounts that go into the billing should be clearly defined and separated, so we can track that. Now, most of the reserves are limited. There's a limit to how much you collect, but for the rate stabilization, you have to act in order to lower them. There is no net limit as to how high they could go. And that disturbs me a little bit, but yes, we do need some reserves. I just like to see it more deficient, more definitely defined, more limited, and some transparency in the financial reporting. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second to get discussion. Yes,
I
ma'am.
wanted to just add to the motion, that was the adoption of resolution, what's the number?
It will
2.2.
be 1433.
Okay, now that's adoption of that resolution number.
Thank you. Yeah, 1395.
Yeah, well, that's rescinding that. Okay,
Very good. We have a motion and a second. This is a roll call vote. Oh,
I'm done, I'm clarified,
Oh.
that's all.
very good.
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Ferguson?
Yes,
Director Martin?
Yes.
Director Paul?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes,
These graphs can be-
very good.
Yeah.
Item 2.3, other post-employment benefit evaluation report.
I'll have Mr. Scalioni present this to you. You may recall in the last MOU, one of the items that we did have was OPEB. And some of the items that have come out of grand jury things and a lot of other stuff that have been a topic of discussion for the past couple of years, OPEB is one of them. OPEB being other post-employment benefits. So there was some pretty good action taken by the board through the last MOU to help control long-term costs. We do have the actuarial study in now, and Tom will actually present that to show the impact of what the action the board's taken.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. We are required every 2 years to have actuaries come in and do a study and determine what the liability is that the district has related to this benefit that we offer, this retiree medical insurance benefit, and also the annual cost as well. And what I've presented here in the staff report that starts on page 26, and we'll be showing you the slides as well, is the last three actuarial reports. Each one projects 5 years out. So you're looking 5 years out each time you have an actuarial done. And we just had ours done for the 2013-14 year. It's required for us to record in our financial statements. We need to have this done in order to know what numbers we put in our balance sheet and our income statement for liabilities and costs associated with OPEB. And what I wanted to point out to you specifically, just like General Manager Lamb was saying, the biggest change was from our 2009 report to our 2011 report. When that 2009 report was prepared, it was before the recent actions that we took to control the costs. And at that point, it was before we funded a trust. It was when basically the eligibility, the retiree eligibility was 50 years and 5 years of service, and you can retire and get full medical, the full cost of medical insurance premiums for yourself, your spouse, and your dependents through age 65. The good thing is we capped at 65. A lot of other agencies go to life. But even so, when you look at the liability over here, if we just pause and look at this graph for a minute, you can see how unsustainable it was back in 2009. The blue bars, we just keep following up. The liability was going through the roof. It was projected to be 7.6 million by the time we got to where we're at now. The red and green now, that was subsequent to the changes that we made, and the actions that we made as a board were to fund a trust. Before it was completely unfunded. And what funding a trust enables us to do is to pay for some of those medical benefits in the future with the investment earnings in the trust. We're at 9.6% is our investment return in our trust to date. We can't do that here for a governmental agency. We're earning less than 1% because we're very limited. We can only go up 5 years and no more. They're going way out on a curve, and they're investing in corporate notes and things that we can't invest in. But then again, they've got the billions in investment compared to what we have under investment as well. So they can earn a lot more money there. It's similar to the pension. A lot of people think, wow, you look at all the money you're paying for pension benefits. No, 2/3 of pension benefits are paid from investment earnings at CalPERS. And that's what we're trying to achieve with our OPEB as well. And so we're 60% funded right now. The other change we made was capping the amount that the district pays for medical. It gave the incentive for a lot of employees to switch to that lower cost plan, saved us a lot of money, both in our what we currently pay for our employees and what we pay for retirees as well. And then the other thing was the vesting. Now you don't get full benefits until you're vested for 10 years. It takes 10 years of service to be fully vested, and no more dependents. We're not paying insurance on dependents anymore. Those were the big changes. Again, it's reflected in this with the liability, and in the next one in the cost as well. So the evaluations showed what would the cost be, what are the costs currently, and what do they project out for 5 years if we made no changes. And the blue bars actually before the recent escalation in healthcare costs would have been even more than $1 million a year you see for 2013-14 for the blue bar. We also, there is no more OPEB offered for new hirees. Basically, the program has stopped. So we have what's called a closed group. So that was a way also to make this a sustainable benefit as well. So you can see that greatly reduced. For more information too, our current costs, if you want to know, well, what are we paying for group insurance? Most of that's medical insurance. This is what our actual costs and projected costs are. So the projected from 13-14 on is in our budget, in our long-range planning right now. You saw it went down in 2010, 11 and 11-12. That was when we implemented the incentive to say, hey, we're only going to pay so much per month, but it was more than the lowest plan. So a lot of employees switched to the lower plan, and we were able to, even though the rate was escalating, we were able to save the absolute cost for medical benefits. But as you know, big changes in the increase in medical insurance, so we will see an escalation. On the next one, I mentioned that this escalation in costs, and the actuarial reports that are done, when they do their studies, there are hundreds of assumptions they have to make in order to figure out, well, what are you going to pay in the future for retiree benefits? And one of them is healthcare costs. And for this 2013 report, the green bars, compared to the budget is the purple bars, what we use for budget. They had the benefit of hindsight. By the time we did the budget first, and then they did their report, and by the time they did the report, they actually knew that we were going to get an increase of 16.3% in our healthcare rates, in our medical premium rates. So they cranked that into their report. And then on the next slide, I mentioned funding, just to show you we weren't funded at all in the beginning, and now we're at about 60% funded. There will be, it's not official yet, but there will be accounting pronouncements that are going to require us to report the entire liability, the part that's not funded, on our balance sheet. And we anticipate that's another 1.8 million or so for us. We will fund that in the trust, so we'll be 100% funded when that requirement comes in 2016-17. And this is for information purpose only. We already have the actual report done. We do have copies of the report. If you're interested, I can get you one. It makes for some exciting reading. Accountants love having actuaries around because it makes us look exciting. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Yes, Director Podel.
Did you raise your hand?
No.
Okay. I just wanted to say that, well, first of all, the presentation was really good. Your graphics were terrific, as I mentioned to you before the meeting, that I could even understand. So it was good. But there are so many cities, agencies, states, districts that have yet to even address this, the OPED liability, and it's just building and building and building. So I think it's a compliment to everybody who designed this, from staff to board members, that we enacted these when we did to put the brakes on this and put the Vallecitos Water District into a reasonable future. So great job, Tom.
Any other questions? Thank you, Tom, very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom.
Item 2.4, the addendum to the final wastewater master plan and recycling program.
Yes, I'll have Mr. Scholl go through this very quickly. If you took the time to read the board packet, I think the environmental document's probably 65 pages. We'll go through that page by page.
Yeah, good.
To make sure that we didn't miss anything.
I saw
Rob will just hit the highlights here. You've heard about this project numerous times now. It's the project from Liebenhain. Rob will just walk you through the highlights, then skip to the action.
Yeah, the addendum itself is a big appendix as part of that package.
Yeah.
Good evening, President Hernandez, directors of the board. Here to talk to you about the addendum to our 2008 Master Plan, Programmatic Environmental Impact Report, or Program EIR for short. This to include the San Leo Pump Station Project environmental evaluation. Okay, just to give you a little bit of background information on this, back on November 21st of last year, the board authorized the agreement with the Liebenhain Municipal Water District for the purchase of a minimum of 2,750 acre-feet a year of potable water. The district's 2008 master plan, it evaluated the purchase of this water from Liebenhain from their treatment plant, but at the time, we only had conceptual details. Therefore, there was no real details of the purchase that had been hashed out at this point. And so there was a lot of details missing, such as the quantity of water that was to be purchased, where we would take the water from Liebenhain, or how we would even move the water into our distribution system. Therefore, we never developed a capital improvement program or a project for the purchase of the water in the master plan itself. And therefore, there was no environmental impacts evaluation for this water purchase either. So kind of fast forwarding back to when we were pinning the agreement with the Liebenhain, at that point we knew that in order to take this quantity of water, we would need to construct a pump station to be able to move that type of water through our system. Thus, the district hired Infrastructure Engineering Corporation to perform the engineering design services. And on May 29th of 2013, the district approved an addendum as well to IEC's contract to include program EIR addendum services, so that this program environmental impact addendum would analyze the potential environmental impacts due to the pump station's construction. So the addendum, of course, has been completed there, and the addendum finds that no new significant effects will result from the project that were not already examined in the program EIR. finds that no significant effects will have substantially increased in severity as a result of the project. And also, the project does not require any new mitigation measures. Now, the addendum and these findings I just talked about here, they require adoption by the board before the project can be approved. Therefore, recommendation to the board is to adopt a resolution that takes the following actions. A, adopt addendum number 1 and the findings set forth in the resolution. B, approve the mitigation monitoring and reporting program included in the addendum number 1. And C, approve the Santa Leo Hills Pump Station project and require implementation of the mitigation measures and the mitigation monitoring and reporting program. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yes,
I'd like to move adoption of the resolution. Good job. I know we gotta have that pump station.
a second, and for discussion, yes, thank you very much, Director Martin.
I have one question. Why are we still showing an approximate location of the pump station? Do you know where it's gonna go?
Yeah, we've basically knocked this down to a single site, which we're calling site number 3. And I guess we can take the approximate off that now. We pretty much know where that's going. Yeah.
And who currently owns the property?
That is currently owned by the Center for Natural Lands Management, who we've been in discussions with for obtaining the proper easement on that property.
Okay, and they were deeded the property by San Diego mitigation?
Yes.
We would actually acquire the property from them, and then there'll be some mitigation that goes with it, which is in the plan. Probably take out some invasive species, things like that.
And the cost of the water to the district, higher or lower than we're getting from San Diego Metropolitan, same amount?
I'll take a crack at this here, and Tom can correct me if I go astray.
Oh, good.
My understanding is they sell water to us at the CWA's melded treated water rate of at 85% of that rate for the first 2,750 acre feet a year. And then any water that we take beyond that 2,750 acre feet a year, it's at 90% of that melded rate.
So we're getting this water at a discount either way.
That's correct.
And just again, for those out in the audience, this is going to add additional resources to Vallecitos Water District that we won't have to pay top dollar for.
Exactly.
Yes.
Just to clarify too, it's actually a treatment agreement, so it's just the treatment rate that's discounted by what Rob said. And also, we're gonna recover the cost of this pump station through the billing too. They'll actually, it's amortized over a certain amount of time, and we get to recover that cost through the billing.
I guess the bottom line is, this is going to be less expensive than getting water from anywhere else.
Absolutely.
That's correct.
Yes, very good. Director Martin?
But its expense will be covered by all 22,000 meters in the city, in the area, service area.
The expenses recovered actually through the purchase, through Allevenhain. The actual pump station costs are all recovered. They're effectively paying it, but they're asking to pay it over time, and they do it through the billing. So when they bill us, they're gonna deduct an amount from that until we recover the whole cost, and then they'll bill us full for the treatment cost.
And although minimal, just what's the percentage rate? Will we get that as well, total cost, including the money, the usury money?
Not sure your question. We're just paying for treatment services. So the water is swapped. We buy actually raw water from, instead of treated water, we'll buy raw water from San Diego County Water Authority, and they'll just bill us a percentage of the treatment that we would have paid through the water authority for each acre foot of water that is pumped. So there's actually, in the end, no cost at all to the district, only a savings on the treatment cost.
It does become a melded rate, if that's your question. The discounted
Yeah.
rate we get from them, it will be melded into our regular rate, which will help keep the cost down.
Yeah, and we show that separately when we go through our budget process.
Yeah.
Any other questions for discussion? I have a motion and a second. This is a resolution. So roll call vote,
This will
Diane?
be resolution 1434. Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Ferguson?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Director Paul?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob.
And item number 2.5, the approval of a change order for the budget increase, 12-inch fail-safe replacement at our famous Red Wing site. Infamous, I guess.
Thank you, President Hernandez, members of the board. This is the fail-safe line. Again, just as a reminder to the board, the fail-safe is the secondary effluent or treated water pipeline that runs from Meadowlark all the way down to the ocean outfall at Encina. And there's a section in this line right off of Red Wing, which is adjacent to Rancho Santa Fe Road, that is prone to failure. There's a lot of utilities in that area, and there's also a lot of turns in the pipe, both on the horizontal and also on the vertical, both up and down, because of all the utilities. Matter of fact, if you look at the graphic that's up, you can see in the area right here, there's 5 utilities all within probably about a 20-foot area that is being crossed. What was encountered during construction of this project was at the very front where a connection point is, and just going off the figure from, let's say, from your left side, you have the fail-safe line, which is the green line or greenish line that's out in the street. That's a new pipeline that we put shallow. The existing line's anywhere from 12 to 13 foot deep. So, and then going down the larger green line, we had to relocate that line. One thing that was discovered as we were doing the construction, there's an 18-inch force main, which is a pressurized sewer line that comes from our lift station 1 over to Meadowlark. It helps feed sewer to the Meadowlark treatment plant so we can produce recycled water. And there's 2 angle points on that's shown on the as-builts. And now they're buried underground. We potholed the pipe, found it during design, but as we were digging the trench and opening the ground up, those 2 angle points were much closer than anticipated. Matter of fact, we put the approximate location. Understanding this, we're about 10 feet below them. So, and you can't have 2 large pieces of concrete above you with nothing supporting it. So we had to work with the contractor and start a process of trying to find an alternate location for a connection. And moving it back was the only solution, because this whole area has been riddled with failures in the past, and we're trying to avoid that in the future. Yes, sir?
Yes, Director Pogue.
I'm looking at the force main. I'm not quite getting in my head what's going on here. Your explanation is fine, but when I'm seeing this 12-inch fail-safe, it's coming from, looks like the right direction, you know, from Meadowlark. But the force main doesn't seem to be going to Meadowlark.
It does. It comes down. It comes down the street, down Rancho Santa Fe Road, cuts across into Red Wing, and then goes through that church parking lot, through another easement, and I forgot the name of that little community that's right there. That's kind of that corner community that's between Rancho Santa Fe and Melrose. It comes through there, out into Melrose, and then over to the treatment plant.
It's a real old place.
Wow.
With a lot of records that don't exist.
Yeah.
That's kind of the bottom line here.
And is this county or?
Yeah, this area is the county, yes. So with that, we found another suitable location. Obviously, that suitable location included crossing 5 utilities and both a tremendous amount of both up and down. At the time, we had the contractor there. It's a small job. We only had 270 feet or so of pipeline. This accounted for an additional 65 feet. Just to give you an idea, of that 270 feet of pipeline, we encountered 5 or 6 crossings. In the 65 feet, we encountered another 5 crossings. So with that, we continued, obviously with the contract, there was no concurrent work that we could have scheduled them. Our choices was to stop them and incur delay charges or continue on time and materials. With that, the staff made the recommendation to the contractor to move forward, provide direction, and which resulted in total change order cost of, bring it up here, $62,731. This is above the board ordinance, I believe, that requires the limits on construction change orders at around 10% for a small job. This job being 122,000 and change, obviously we're well above that. The ordinance does allow staff to move forward in circumstances where delaying would cost more, and staff made that direction to the contractor. So with that, and of course, if there's any questions, staff recommends approval of change order amount of $62,731 and a budget increase of $54,397.
Yes, Director Martin?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Second, any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
just for my own, just looking at this, it's fascinating. What end did you start at? Would you start at your lowest point?
No, unfortunately, if the original line is the purple line, and what you don't see is the fact that when this line was put in, it was put in concurrent with the solids line. The solids line is the line that actually breaks, that's broken over the last winter, one of the lines that failed last winter during that cold snap that we had. The lines are only about 4 feet apart, and they're only about a foot difference in elevation. So when the solids lines break, we sometimes break the fail-safe line trying to fix the solids line, or we have to, or it's a very costly and slow repair because it's all handy. So separating this line out, what we try to do is get rid of all the bends and trying to get to the shallow. If you're familiar with Red Wing starts going up the hill, and we're 10 to 15 foot deep, depending on where you are in the profile. And as we come up that hill, our pipelines come up. So our connection point, 200 and somewhat feet up from this picture, is only about 6 foot deep. But unfortunately, through that whole church parking lot, we're a good 10, 12 foot deep. And to chase that all the way back, we'd have to chase it all the way back to Melrose, through people's yards and easements. So it became a decision just to fix the worst spot.
Are we out of their parking lot now?
We're still in the easement in the parking lot. And then what we did is we went right into the old corridor. There used to be other pipelines in Red Wing. And what we found out when we were digging the pipe is the fill in Red Wing is junk clay. And there's pieces of asphalt, pieces of concrete, pieces of debris that was just thrown in the fill, probably during the original construction and possibly also during maybe when they built the church lot.
Yeah, the parking lot came long afterwards, so I have a feeling when it got filled with what was on site.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
experience that.
as our contractor dug, he'd hit chunks of asphalt, which would get pushed down, hit the pipe, which just delayed the project even more, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
2.6, the CIP quarterly update presentation.
See if the remote works. Thank you, President Hernandez, members of the board. This is just the quarterly CIP update. The first page you'll see is the map, which shows all the CIPs. We gray out the CIPs that have been completed as the year goes along, so you can kind of see a progression. This is the first quarter update. So the first quarter update is really July, August, and September. Originally, it was slated to come to the board probably second meeting in October. It just got delayed slightly through the scheduling. We'll just go over the projects one by one, starting with the first project. And the map's just there for your reference so you know where it is in the district. First project here, oops, I got to advance myself here, is the Richmond tank. And this project is just about finished. Only one change order on this job when we were doing the prep and basically the blasting of the tank to remove the old paint. Some of the rafters, which we previously inspected that looked like they were in good shape, just started disintegrating. So we have about a $10,700 change order for replacement of those rafters. So as you can see, we are a little bit under 4% total change order. That job's actually now, I believe, disinfected. And it's online, so we'll be coming to the board shortly once we get final approvals and then final site work is completed for adoption, for acceptance of this project. Next project is the Rock Spring Sewer replacement. This project is in design. We actually have our administrative draft of our environmental document, and we're looking at the 60% plans. This is the project over off of Rock Springs that goes down into kind of an open area that periodically floods. And the idea is to get the new sewer up a little higher, make sure it doesn't flood, provide access for operations for cleaning and maintenance, and also to get the sewer out of people's backyards, because currently the current alignment goes through people's backyards. And this project is currently in design.
I'm sorry, the one prior to this, who's the contractor?
Pacific Titan.
Pacific Pipe. Thank you. And this one?
This one is in design. IEC is the design consultant. The San Marcos Interceptor Phase 1 is project number 3. This project is in construction. This is the project that I've come forward to the board with the tunneling underneath the freeway. Currently, actually, the tunnel is complete under the freeway, and as of the end of today, they've pushed the carrier pipe. So not the steel casing's in, and so is the actual carrier pipe now. And starting in about 2 weeks or so, they'll be starting the tunnel underneath Johnson Lane. So this project, as far as the first quarterly report, there's only one pending issue, which is we hit some rock. We have about 3 days worth of rock breaking that we're still waiting for cost on. Besides that, the project has gone smoothly, and we're also starting evasive species or invasive species removal at that Twin Oaks property at the corner of Twin Oaks and San Marcos Boulevard.
A quick question, you hit rock under 78?
No, we hit rock in our trench line in the Orbit's parking lot, actually, so in the backside. So most of those parking lots are all fill. There is a lens of rock if you look at the cut of the 78, and sure enough, it was a high point, and we just hit it for about 100 feet in the trench. So I'm trying to negotiate that away right now. So we'll see how successful I am. The next project 4 is Linda Vista East Sewer. This project actually we just opened bids on last Wednesday, and we're actually in the process of evaluating the bids currently. So we will probably be looking at bringing this project forward, depending on the evaluation for award, or depending on what the circumstances are. We're just at the start of that process.
How did the bids come in relative to the estimates?
The low bid was 1.58 or 1.57, and the estimate was around 1.6 and change. So we're right there. The second bid was at 1.87, almost $300,000 higher. So,
I have a question.
Yes.
Remind me, are we going underneath the freeway there?
yeah, so the project originates at Los Vallecitos and Bingham, right off, actually right here at Furniture Row, basically, and Bingham. And there's a tunnel underneath the freeway. We pick it up at Grand, and then there's a section that goes through what we call the hotel property, where the hotel is going to be. Pops out at it used to be Amistar.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is now, onto via Veracruz, and then turns up all the way to the Linda Vista Las Posas intersection. And there's 3 trenchless sections in this job. Obviously, underneath the freeway is a jack and bore. So unlike the San Marcos Interceptor project, which was a micro tunnel, because of the larger size, that made sense. This one's a jack and bore, a little different methodology as far as trenchless. And then there's also 2 other sections. There's a double box culvert at Via Veracruz and at that intersection that we need to go over, and there's a triple box culvert at Las Posas and Linda Vista that we'll be doing trenchless. So that we actually have 3 smaller trenchless sections on this project.
James, if you could explain the difference between the microtunnel and the jack and bore, so that the board understands.
Sure. The microtunnel is what it is. It's a tunneling machine. It's an actual machine that has a rotating head with cutters on it, and they have some ability to actually move as they go along. So if they get a little bit off alignment, they can move it a little bit. And when we do larger size tunnels, a lot of times microtunneling becomes the preferred option because of just the diameter, the size of the machine, the cost of getting it out there. And if you have a bigger project, it's obviously a costlier project. It can kind of justify the cost. The jack and bore is more brute force. You're basically hammering hydraulically, pneumatically, usually hydraulically, pipe. So you're using a front edge of a steel casing, and you're just hammering through the material. And then you have cuttings and stuff that's coming out of the middle. But basically, you're just basically forcing it through, displacing soil as you go through and bringing the soil inside.
And that would be the way Poseidon chose to do it under Rancho Santa Fe?
No, that was a microtunnel.
That was a microtunnel.
Yeah, that
That's
was
what they were pounding it.
it still is loud, but that was a microtunnel.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
Yeah, this one with the smaller one, it literally is the same as putting an airplane in the sky. It's brute force. There's nothing sexy about it. Just hit it as hard as you can and shove it under the freeway. And the amazing part is it'll come out within an inch of where it should.
yeah, which we were 0.05 feet, basically half an inch on our tunnel underneath the freeway from hitting perfect grade, which is well within the accepted norm. So we were very happy with that. Didn't hit any issues with our tunnel Actually, the contractor, once he got going, made better time than his schedule. So it actually put him almost 7 days ahead of schedule on that portion. He's behind on some other stuff on that portion. So, project number 5 is lift station 1 improvements. This is the project, if the board may remember that the district, working with the North County Recycle Water Group or Coalition, North County Recycle Water Coalition, received a Prop 84 grant of roughly $350,000. So with that money, once it becomes available, we're hoping it becomes available in sometime early 2014, we're going to install a new pump, a 2,000 gallon per minute pump at lift station 1, and of course upgrade the electrical which is required to install that pump, and be able to deliver more sewer to Meadowlark through that 18-inch that we had to avoid at the fail-safe line crossing. So this way we could actually produce more recycled water and sell more recycled water as a wholesaler at Meadowlark. So it all kind of ties in. So we're using the grant funding on that project to pay for the majority of the construction costs.
Yes.
Is that gonna help at all with the, I forget the word now, but the escaping odors?
Oh, fugitive.
Fugitive odors.
Fugitive odors, yes.
At pump station 1, which are obnoxious continuously.
It probably will have some minor effects, but no, it won't have, it's the, pumping it through faster will keep it fresher. So there is a possibility, but it's really not intended for it. There will have to be other capital money spent to help capture those fugitive odors.
Have we planned on that yet? That's not even in the system.
Yeah, we're working through that through our odor control study and through our operations department of different options that we could look at. Some things that if we could do it within the budget now, within our budget constraints, we may look forward to that, or we may budget in the next fiscal year to actually provide more of a system. But we are moving forward with several options within the odor control study, one at a time, because we need to implement a portion of it, see how it affects the system, and before we go to the next one. So this way we don't end up overbuilding, basically.
It was one of the actionable items that came out of the study approved by the board, was to look at that odor reduction.
Thank you.
So the last thing with this lift station 1 project, there is again, the main purpose of this is to provide more sewer to Meadowlark so we can produce more recycled water. And we are looking, as far as the next step, is pre-purchasing the pump. Because with the delay in the state releasing that property for money, any money that we spend up front, you can't get reimbursed for it. So we've been holding off, but unfortunately to get a pump, you can't just call over the phone, get a pump in 2-3 weeks. It's a 15 to 20 week thing, and they say maybe a little less now because they're not as busy. So we're going to be looking at bringing forward purchasing that pump ahead of time, and we will still end up spending the entire grant anyway. So there's a 25% contribution in construction, and that's going to be our 25%. So.
Yes?
I had a question, James. On this pump station, on the pump, the top paragraph description says you're replacing an older 600 GPM with a new 600 GPM. But down below, you're talking about pre-ordering a 2000 GPM.
Yeah, correct. There's 4 pumps in there right now. There's an older 600 GPM pump that's going to get replaced. It's due for replacement as part of this project. But then we're going to replace one of the old 600 GPM pumps and replace it with a 2000. Okay. So I could clarify that language because it is confusing, but we're doing both.
Okay.
Next project 6, the fail-safe replacement. You just heard about that today in the previous board action. This is last quarter. We did this last quarter, we kind of held it, and so I had no changeovers last quarter. So obviously, the next quarter, you're going to see the board-approved change order on here. So at this point, this project was sailing smooth as of September or early October. So, MRF solid force mains, item 7, and this is the second part of getting rid of some of that older infrastructure that needs to be replaced. That's prone to failure. So we talked about the fail-safe. Now this is a solids line. The solids line doesn't go all the way down to Encina from Meadowlark. It actually connects into our land outfall. So it's a shorter line. But this is the primary culprit as far as failures in that area, is usually the solids line. So we're in design right now with the solids line. We've worked with between staff and consultant to find a way to not have to go through a full CEQA process because we're going to keep it in the streets. We've been working with legal counsel on that. And basically at this point, we're looking at some of those odor control strategies to help implement them, maybe as part of this project within the budget. We're looking at 90% plans and also some additional sewer replacement. Some of the older sewer infrastructure that moves solids from the different portions of Meadowlark down to our solids pump station needs some rehab or replacement. So we're looking at, since we're going to be ripping up the road at Meadowlark, we could replace, instead of just one pipe, maybe replace 2 or 3 of the pipes, if all within the same area. So we're looking at some economies of scale there to help save the district money over a long time. So next project is the Sand Hill pump stations, and we just the board just adopted the programmatic EIR. Our next steps on this project is we just received the 50% design plans and to obtain that easement from Center for Natural Lands Management. Staff met with the wildlife agencies, both state and federal, yesterday. Tuesday, thank you, Tuesday. And so far, they're on board. They're going to review our document and hopefully provide a letter to Center for Natural Lands Management that will outline our conditions for relinquishing the easement. The good news is where we're putting it, we already have an existing easement for a sewer line. So what we're asking for is literally about 2,000 square feet, 2,000 to 3,000 square feet of easement is what we're asking for, and it's in the old Quest Haven right away, that old road. It's paved, and the good news is the conservation easement that's granted through the San Leandro Hills was never recorded. And also that hardscape was never conditioned to be mitigation property. So it's always left as hardscape, mainly because of the SDG easements and our easement that goes through there. So it all looks good right now, but I'm going to wait until I get the yes from the wildlife agencies before I start reporting that we're done.
Yeah.
So, and that's really the critical path on this project, because after that, getting the design done, we need to get out to construction. So. Just some totals here, and really, I know these are just a bunch of numbers, but these are the totals for all the projects. We have 16 CIPs that are being concurrently worked on right now, and you can see from the construction, the top number is $31 million in budget total. Not all of it is active this fiscal year, but we have $7.6 million in change in construction contracts right now. So this whole top section is just construction. So right now, it's just one change order, and we're at negative 0.28%, which should make Director Ferguson happy. So obviously, after the board approval, we'll be in the positive, but we're still very low.
You remembered.
Yes. Yes. I've been chastised before. So, and then of course, as far as you can see, the next lines down, they're design services, the total that we have in design contracts, the percentage that we paid out. Next one's CM, or inspection services. And then I just lump geotechnical, environmental miscellaneous together, because those are usually smaller contracts. A lot of those, when we do an in-house design, we need geotech help, or we need surveying help to go out and use one of our as-needed. And I lumped them together and captured them there. And then the last is just a chart of how the money flows. So as you can see, we get the contractors to give us what they project would be the billings, which are always high. You know, we're going to bill you, we're going to get this job done, and then you can see how the actuals come in, which is the blue, the bar, and then the lines are just the cumulatives, and you'll see these change as this is only the first quarter. As the quarter goes along, and you can track them that way. With that, that concludes my update. Unless there's any questions.
Do we have any questions? Thank you very much. Yes.
I have one question. I want to thank you, Jane, and the other members. I like your jacket.
Oh, thank you.
You're jealous. You want one?
We purchased those, right?
Yes.
Great. I don't know who to talk to, but I want to purchase one.
5 years ago.
Oh, you don't have them anymore?
No, that was a gift from the board probably 5 years ago.
For Christmas. I appreciate that, and I appreciate our financial
size do you
person
wear,
over there, he's
James?
got his Vallecitos on.
Yeah, that was probably 3 years ago.
You
have to go on eBay.
I think that was,
Know who you are, that's a good thing. I think that's great for all of our employees.
actually, I'm glad you bring that up, because, you know, that was actually, I've been here 8 years, and that was, I think, 9 or 10 years ago.
Is that how old it was?
And John and I started around the same time, and somehow he got that one, and I didn't, so.
Oh, there you go.
Not jealous or not bitter of it.
I have both of them.
Well,
Thank you very much.
There you go.
To
Thank
give,
you
to
very
give you an
much.
example, we had a, what do you call it when you go around your neighborhood and you look for cans and
Scavenger hunt.
scavenger hunt? Lisa and used to be Shirley, their job every year is to make some of these things fun for the employees at the party that we have, the board gives for the
Yeah.
luncheon. And they actually tried a scavenger hunt for 30 years worth of the items that the board has given out over the years.
Oh.
And it was amazing. Quite a few people still had these. Now, they were in a drawer in the kitchen. But they found quite a few of them over the last 30 years. We had a pretty good collection of all the different things. It was pretty good.
Very cool.
Very good. Item 2.7, a request for a waiver of water meter requirements from North County Health Services. I have, although it's a non-paying volunteer position, I do not want to have any perception that there's a conflict, so I am going to be recusing myself from this discussion and vote, and Vice Chair Ferguson will take over, and I'll remove myself from the room.
I'm still wondering why you gave me the
In
gavel.
case it gets tough, you can just pound somebody.
That would,
Primarily.
Podal's the closest one.
Closest one.
You wait out there till we call you, Jim.
I'll be listening.
Okay, this item is a request for waiver of a meter requirement. North County Health Services leases adjacent city-owned property for use as a parking lot. By the way, this item was placed on the agenda for discussion at the request of the board president, Mr. Hernandez. Staff, do you have any report for us?
We do have a representative, I believe, that did want to speak, if you would
I
like to
have
hear
to
him.
speak unless you would like to please
If-
give your presentation.
It might be easier in this one, Director Ferguson, if we actually hear from the proponent first,
All
then I
right, then I
can.
have a request to speak from Ron Withall,
Yes,
and you're with North County Health Services?
I am. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board, district staff. My name is Ron Withall, and I'm the Vice President of Facilities for North County Health Services. I'm here before you tonight to request a waiver from the requirement to provide a water meter on a piece of property that is owned by the city of San Marcos, adjacent to our property. And it's a property that we're currently leasing for parking for our staff. NCHS is a nonprofit community clinic, public benefit corporation providing health services to the uninsured and underinsured living in North County. Our funding is derived primarily from governmental sources and patients. I'd like to give you a little bit of background behind this waiver request. The parking lot is being built to provide safe and secure parking for our staff. The lot is currently just a dirt lot, and it creates problems for us when there's rain or other weather issues. Also, the lighting is very poor back there, and at this time of the year, when it gets dark early, we're concerned about the security for our staff. The property is owned by the city, and we've been told that the city will never sell the property to us. There is a water source within 20 feet of the city property that is providing service to our current building. We would like to tap into that source to provide irrigation to the landscaped area of the parking lot. The water usage for the landscaping on a monthly basis is projected to be roughly 10 to 15 units per month. We are using a drought-tolerant landscaping to keep the water uses as low as possible. Money saved by not having to pay for a meter will allow us to allocate those dollars towards patient care. And the city has been gracious enough to offer to work with us on their development fees for this project, and we are asking for your consideration as well. I know the water district has a policy stating that a meter is required, but I'm asking you to consider the circumstances and reasons for this request and waive the requirement for a meter in this instance. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lamb?
Yes, thank you. And just to be clear on the request, it's not to waive the fees, it's just to waive the requirement of installing a meter itself. This conversation's been taking place for probably 2 years now. When it first started, the reason Director Hernandez recused himself was his firm was the architect doing the work. The district engineer, Mr. Gertis, has worked with the city and the proponents over the past 2 years, and it managed to kind of work itself out over the last year and a half. They planted the landscaping, which looks great. We took a lot of pictures of it. It's done great for the last year and a half without irrigation. I believe he has some additional irrigation they now have to put in. The city said, okay, you don't have to irrigate, it's working. Now they're paving it, and the city has finally said, okay, you need to irrigate it. Drought landscaping works just fine without water, hence the purpose of drought landscaping. Ordinance number 49 of the district requires that separate parcels under separate ownership must have their own meter. That's been a policy that's been in effect for forever. The last time we had an incident of different properties being served by a multiple meter, you may recall, I'm not sure if you were guys around the city council or not, it was back when they built Costco the first time. There were some homes on that property, one got relocated and then the others, but it was a thing we called the green squick et al. There were 6 homes located on 3 different pieces of property on 2 meters. So when one person didn't pay the bill, the other people didn't get water. So it was a real, not a pleasant thing. In this case, I can understand the proponent's request. And what I would suggest as an alternate here, if the board would consider this, I haven't had a chance to really catch up with the city manager yet. I spoke to him the other day about it. I think we have a simple solution to this. Would be, my understanding is probably within 5-ish years, they are looking to build a daycare center out there on that property, at which point they would have to have a regular meter, a fire service, all the stuff that goes with normal building. So what I would suggest as a simple solution to this, because of the fact it's a government-owned piece of property. We do try to work with other government agencies whenever there's an accommodation we can make to something like this. Because it is owned by the city, it will not be transferred. What I would suggest the board consider is if we could enter into an agreement with the city, that the city would acknowledge that the water is being provided by an adjacent parcel of land. There is no entitlement to that property by virtue of us providing the service. I would like to actually see the agreement recorded. Don't know if it's a recordable agreement, we'll work through that, to where whoever does own the property, it just acknowledges if it's sold, if it's transferred, if there's any kind of title change, this accommodation, lack of better terms, would no longer be provided, and that this be brought back before the board on an annual basis or something like that, to where the board can just say, yeah, continue it until it moves forward. That would that would provide the relief to the North County Health Services to not have to actually pay for the meter until several years down the road, and they do it. And to be perfectly honest, based upon the landscaping that's there, once they get this established, they're probably gonna turn the water off anyway. So it's kind of one of those things that's rough to put $15,000 worth of water meter in for landscaping that's going to be established within a very short period. So if the board would consider that, I think that's a simple workaround to meet the accommodation.
Okay, comments?
I just have one, I think it's a great idea. What I'm concerned about is you're saying if you didn't have to pave this, this would never even have come up. It's because you want to improve the paving is when the city stepped in and said now they want it irrigated.
Yeah,
Irrigation put in.
Mr. Withall, would you come back up to the podium?
These are conditions of the city, not conditions of the
Right.
water district. Yeah.
Right. We have made the decision to upgrade that area for our staff for a number of reasons. And one of the requirements in doing that with the city is that we provide irrigation to the landscape.
But I drove by, it looks like, I drove by, I'm saying.
Yeah, we took pictures, and I've got a lot of pictures. It looks great. It's all drought tolerant, xeriscape planting.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think because of the fact this is a parking lot, because it's a city-owned parcel of property,
Yeah, city-owned.
Yeah, I have to say, if this was two separate ownership of two different business people, I think we'd be having a completely different conversation, because then you never know what's gonna happen. City hasn't had a policy of rent, lease, not sell. 5 years, maybe you can talk them into selling to you, but right now, I don't see that happening. If we review this on an annual basis, we can make sure something doesn't get away from us. And then when they do build a building at that point, they'll put the meter in, they'll put the fire service in, and they'll do all the normal stuff that needs to be done.
Thank you.
Director Martin?
I'm ready to make a motion, if you accept that, make a motion that we have our general manager.
Could we hear the discussion from the rest of the
Whatever you
board?
want. Whatever you want, you're
Okay.
around it,
Thank you.
that's why I asked.
Director Portal?
I'm okay.
You're okay, I'm okay. May I
You're the chair, you're the chair,
give you the motion?
do whatever you want.
And
Sure.
you can correct me, so you will be voting, know what you're voting on? That, we approve the waiver of the meter fee with an,
Yeah, we're not waiving any fees, Director Ferguson.
okay, what do you want to say?
Okay, what I would request is that the board consider entering into an agreement with the city of San
Okay,
Marcos.
that we have an agreement with the city for the, setting the meter,
No, just to allow water service to be
to
provided to their
allow water
property.
service with no entitlement,
Correct,
and would like to see this agreement recorded,
if possible.
and would like to have it reviewed annually by the board.
Yes.
I'll second that. Unless you want
Is that
to
okay?
change it now?
Hal?
Motion and second.
You made the motion. It's been moved by Director Martin and seconded by Director Evans. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried. Thank you, Mr. Withall.
Thank you.
Thanks, James.
Yeah. I'll work with the city manager and let you know what we do. Thank you. Thank you very much, appreciate it, thank you.
We'll go on to reports, General Manager.
I have no report today, ma'am.
Okay, the District Legal Counsel.
This Friday, I'm going to Sacramento for the day to attend a CASA attorneys meeting to watch a presentation on the use of cell phones and emails in the public agency context. And I think this is going to be a very important emerging area with all of our cell phones and emails that we're using. Also, we're going to be reviewing legislation which affects us and that was passed last year, and legislation that's been turned into two-year bills, and also some recent cases. So I think some might think that's a dreadful way to spend a Friday, but I really am looking forward to it, because you always are, you're never too old to learn something, and I always walk away from these meetings with having learned something. So that's all I have.
And just a question, and I should know this, but I don't.
Yeah.
You represent multiple
Yes.
districts. I mean,
Yes, yes.
You're going there for a lot of people, not just that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
We're the most.
We're the most important.
You're the most important. No,
Right.
you're right.
Right.
That's, and these are, you generally, you learn a lot of things here, so it's helpful. We do it on our own.
Very good. San Diego County Water Authority.
I don't have anything new. I did want you to know that on the 14th, they're holding special meetings for both water planning, water import, and administration and finance. So they're really cramming a lot in. There won't be meetings in December, and then meeting after that will be before the next one, so I'll report on that.
Very good. Encina?
Yeah, we had a meeting with the Policy and Finance Committee, and we talked about the South Parcel. That's funny.
South Park?
Yeah, the South Parcel, I'm sorry.
Are you kidding?
So it wasn't loud. And it's the conceptual development plan, which they'll be explaining to the CIC as well, and so they're getting a little bit closer. And a lot of this was a discussion about how to get on at the city of Carlsbad as far as their master planning, is that correct?
Yes.
How did that come out, by the way? Because I think the Carlsbad
the-
City Council had a meeting.
I think they had a meeting last night. The the property they're talking about is they have this piece south of the incinerator treatment plant. Part of it's going to be kept for future facilities.
About 14 acres.
Yeah, and the city of Carlsbad had gotten through their full general plan amendment process. And then suddenly it got stopped and Cena was told, if you want to get your property in there, hurry up. We'll do it for $69,000 instead of what the cost would be for you to go through a whole general plan amendment. Kevin put together a presentation. I believe he went to the city council meeting last night after, we had the MAM meeting yesterday for Encina. And what it was, they were going to consider rolling that into the general plan so that at least if there was a monetization, is what they're calling it, of the property, i.e. develop it, they would have a land use already approved. Otherwise, they would have to go through a full land use general plan amendment. Hopefully it got in there. I don't know. I didn't hear anything.
They also talked about pyrolysis.
Oh.
So what it is it's another step in creating their pellets for fertilizer, and they are going to try it out and support with agreement. So what it does is it takes it through another heating process where they can get the pellets more concentrated. They have some byproducts they can use for biofuel, and the pellets will be more powerful. So Jim, you'll get that in your CIC as well. So.
Very good.
Okay.
Director's reports, travel, anything? All right. Other meetings and everything? Any comments from the?
I want to make.
Yes. Yes.
On Saturday, I went to the Green Thumb Nursery where we had our joint thing with the Water Smart and WaterWise, and it was absolutely wonderful. I know you probably got the notice on it. It was a wonderful attendance, and it was very well done. And what I was most impressed with is Alicia I take most of it. It was so beautifully set up. And I felt there was just Lisa and Alicia there, and yet everyone was very well accommodated. People were really happy with it. But I saw a lot of people who took to heart what was said and were very excited about it. And I think we have a wonderful reciprocative opportunity, and I really want to compliment us for supporting it and our staff for doing such an amazing job. I wish you all could have seen it.
Thank you.
It was very good.
Any other comments? Yes, question?
Is the next meeting in November, we're gonna be discussing policy as far as videoing?
Pardon?
If we get through the record retention policy, we may have it on the December 12th meeting if we get it wrapped up. That was my intent.
Okay, I remember it was November, and it's okay to push back.
Yeah,
As long as it's
by the
still
time we
happening.
got through, we took it from a 39-page document, I think we got it down to 10. So we tried to really get it down to something we can do. It'll be brought forward, again, with the government code requirements, and it'll be with the board's discretion on what you want to do as far as video and audio.
Yes?
It doesn't have much to do with the water district, really, but November 13th, the city is having a community meeting at the community center. I think it's at 6 o'clock at night, and they're going over the famed Creekside development. Actually, it's about San Marcos Boulevard. And so for those of you who want to attend that to see what it's going to be, they're actually telling you, giving you a presentation that shows you what San Marcos Boulevard is going to look like, how they're going to widen it, how they're going to narrow it, how they're going to have parking for the different vendors or.
Yes. What?
The 13th is a regular meeting of the Creek Task Force, and you're all welcome to attend. Staff will go over whatever staff is going to go over, but it's just a regular meeting of the Creek Task Force.
Is that the same thing we're talking about?
That's the 13th,
Mhm.
yeah.
Is that?
And Director Hernandez and I are on that task force, and we'll be attending that meeting.
That's right.
At the community center?
Yeah, we'll be there.
Thank you.
Yes.
Have there been any more meetings or reports on Lake San Marcos?
They continue through the mediation process right now, trying to reach an agreement. What can I tell you? Literally, what can I tell you, because it's confidential. They think they reached a very close agreement today on putting the bankruptcy to bed.
Once the bankruptcy is taken care of, then everybody can get past that topic and get down to completing the study. They've completed this is open session stuff. They've completed the RFP, the proposal request for the modeling. The modeling is supposed to start and be done by early January. They think the full creek and then everything else will be done probably around March-ish, give or take. There will probably be an additional mediation sometime after that, and they're getting closer and closer to the apportionment of who's going to be responsible for what. But we don't even know what the cost of the fix is yet. So I would say you're probably still talking September of next year before we get the study completed and apportionment on how to fix it.
Chair,
Yes.
would someone please tell me when the next meeting is for November? I realize on my calendar, I have 3 things and I've crossed all of them out.
November 25th.
It's November 25th at 4 PM. That's the next, excellent. Thank you.
And the one in first one in December got moved to December 12th.
Yeah.
We'll send a reminder out.
On December 12th, okay.
Any other questions, statements? We're adjourned.
Thank you.